Hi, welcome back to the Spirit's Path. This is Dee, and today's tarot card of the day out of the Wildwood Tarot deck is the Knight of Stones and Horse. And when I'm looking at this card down here on the table, because I have all the other ones lined up, he is looking back at the archer, waiting for the archer to, I don't know, let's say make his move. Now the archer is looking, to the forward position, looking toward the future of, setting your goals. We talked about that, yesterday. But the vision that I've got was, here you're talking with the archer and the ravens flying overhead just after a couple days of, starting anew on this journey. You're in this transformation. You're keeping your eyes on the prize and you're moving forward. And the archer says, "I'd like to have you meet somebody." And he kind of, and out of the woods comes the horse. And he's kind of got a gallop, and he comes up to you and nuzzles up next to you. The archer puts out a sugar cube for him, and he gladly takes it. And he just wants you to, the horse just wants you to know that he's there. Okay, with the Knight of Stones, the way I like to talk about them is they're fighters or tacticians, okay? And, this one here is making an offer to you, okay? Going on a quest. And, the archer kind of feels that in this transformation for you to move forward, it's time to start moving forward, right? But this Knight of Stones it's slow and steady movement. Okay, you can go fast at times if you want, but for the most part, you're just going to be, holding on, just going forward. And the archer's there to help keep you guys on, keep your eyes on the prize. So Stones is all about materialism, create security, stability, and the horse traditionally is the meaning behind him in this tarot deck. He's free to show you the path that you're on. Okay, so, the horse kind of kneels down and you get up on its back, and he knows instinctively on where to go. You don't have to guide him, okay, because the archer's already told him kind of what the eyes on the prize is as you're moving forward, the transformation for you. So the horse starts walking with the archer behind and the raven flying up above. And, he's just letting you know, hey, we're going to get this job done. All right. And, during this process over the next week or so, we'll stand by you. All right. I'm following direction from the, major arcana, and, we're going to keep going over the details, looking at what things going on. And at the same time, whether this, let's look at your finances. And, he's looking at it, and your security and your stability. You should take pride in what you've done. Taking pride in your work, right? That aspect, that process of what this Knight of Stones stands for. And if this continues to work out and you're persistent, then, you're going to have some employment down the road. You're not going to have to worry about being out of work long, okay? Because your persistence and your skill set is made up of such that you're able to continue moving forward, whether that's working at a fast food chain or, a handy chain like, that sells tools or something like that, or you're in a corporate office, okay? The skill set that you have is one to take pride in. And yes, that work may be slow and steady and mundane and repetitive, but you're good at it. You're good at doing things, okay, and being recognized for it. So, the horse kind of, leans his head, back over and says, do you have any questions? And you're looking at this going, man, how's this transformation? Okay, so we're going to talk about finances, We're going to talk security. We're going to talk stability. Assets. Asset allocation. Okay. How do I transform that into what I want? So maybe you take a deep dive into your finances and you take a look at what's going on. Okay. And, you see more outflow than you have inflow. All right. Well, that's good to know. It's good to be able to look at the balance sheet of your finances. Because, excuse me, now you can take stock on where you can cut things out. Maybe you don't need Netflix. You haven't watched it in, a little bit. Maybe you don't need that Starbucks subscription, right? Maybe you don't need, a cable subscription because you're streaming everything on your phone, right? You start looking at ways where you can start cutting costs where your outflow starts reducing and your inflow starts increasing. And then you say, okay, if we work at this as a family or as an individual, I should start seeing some positive gains. The other piece of that is maybe you look at it and you say, what? If I just do a side hustle for a little bit, I'll have a little bit more money come in, put it towards these bills, pay off the higher percentages first, when it comes to interest rates and stuff like that. And just start chipping away. Slow and steady asset allocation towards your bills. And, before you know it, hey, an extra $100 toward this, an extra $100 toward this, you've shortened the lifespan on that bill. And then you can take that money. Let's say you're saving, a couple $100 once that bill is paid off. Let's say your bill was $200, right? And you chip at it, chip at it. Now at the end of the month, you've got an extra $200 to spend. Maybe you allocate that to another bill. Say, you know what? If I take that $200 and add it to that $100 bill that I'm making every month and just keep paying that off, now you've got $300, right? So it's looking at the strategy. It's looking at the persistence of doing things continuously, right? It's just like that water hitting the stone. Drip, drip, drip. Eventually, there's going to be a pocket in the stone. Doesn't happen overnight, all right? But after months, after years, finally that stone cracks. It's the same thought process, being persistent until that crack develops, and then you can just go ahead and wipe it out. So that, that again, that's going over those details, right? And then when you do knock it out of the park, and you clear that off, take pride in that work. Okay? So the horse looks at you and says, that's a good thought process. Okay, I'm moving forward. So how are you going to push through? Where do you start? And you think about it and you go, okay, well, you know what? If I don't spend the $8 at the hamburger joint for lunch every day, and I'm doing that 5 days a week, that's an extra $40. Okay, so I start making lunch. Lunch probably, to make a lunch, it probably only costs me $20. So I'm $20 ahead. If I start taking my lunch with me while I'm at work, all right, now I'm saving $20 a week. I can take that $20, put it towards a bill, and boom. Within a matter of a month, 2 months, if I stay disciplined and I stay persistent, that bill disappears. And the horse goes, that's great planning. Okay. So the next question is, what's holding you back? Geez, I never really thought about it. Right? I just, look at the balance sheet and, woe is me. And all right, how am I going to get out of this mess? And again, he says, what's holding you back? What made you successful when you were looking at about pushing through? And you said, I had a plan. He goes, exactly. Come up with a plan, write it down, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your mirror in your bathroom, look at it every day. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, chart it. Just like you're the CEO of your company when it comes to your finances. Look at it. Determine where you can make the cuts. Right? Everybody else is scaling back. You don't have to, get rid of employees, which is good. Okay? But you can cut back in certain areas. That hamburger joint, the Starbucks order, the Netflix, whatever you want to look at. You start holding back $100 a month and applying it to a bill, now you're going to be looking at it going, you're going to have some excitement. You're going to be going, yeah, all right, I'm making headway. Bank accounts growing, right? Asset allocation. Thinking about things outside the box, but you have to have a plan, right? That's your quest moving forward right now. Starting off in finances. Okay, coming up with a plan, sticking to it, being persistent, and moving forward. And that, my friends, is the card of the day. The Knight of Stones and Horse. Hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, share it with others, and give me a thumbs up. This is D for Spirit's Path. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care, God bless, and stay safe, everybody.